Welcome to Next to Madison, a podcast to help you live your best life. Hey, welcome back to another episode of Next to Madison. On today's episode, we are talking beauty. I have got a world-renowned plastic surgeon on with me today, and he is going to be covering all the different procedures that currently are being done, some new procedures that might be coming out, and he's really going to kind of break down a lot of skin procedures, both invasive and non-invasive, and things that we can do to stay youthful. A lot of us are working from home and we are on the Zoom and we're trying to find the right lighting, which if you're watching the YouTube version of this segment, you can see that I have not mastered that yet. Somehow I'm being washed out, but that's okay. I was used to the studio. I'm trying to adjust, but that's okay. It's the content that's more important, not the lighting. But yeah, so we're going to get into it. So with that being said, I want to bring on my guest, plastic surgeon, Dr. Johnny Franco. How are you?
I'm great. Well, thanks for having me. I'm super excited to be on.
Yeah, no, I'm very excited. And we had talked right before we had jumped on the recording that business for you has exploded during this whole COVID crisis.
It's been really interesting and obviously pleasantly surprising for us. But, the thing that we've heard the most is I've been thinking about doing this forever, but I never had time in my life. And right now, so many employers have encouraged their team members, if you want time off, this is the time to ask for PTO, those type of things. If a lot of employees are being asked to work from home. And so this has made life a little bit easier for them because we're something in the past that may have needed 2 or 3 weeks off. They can take maybe 5 or 6 days off and then work from home because they're not having to drive. They're not having to sit at a desk all day. And so I think it's really given people an opportunity in their life that they never had before. So it's been interesting. It hasn't been without its challenges for sure, but definitely been interesting.
Yeah, I mean, that's amazing because that was true. A lot of people that I talked to who, worked in corporate jobs, they said, I can't get this done because I can't show up to work looking like my face is a tomato or is falling off or something like that.
They can just turn off the Zoom now. No video.
That's exactly right. So I had contacted my facial lady in New York when I heard this whole thing was kind of starting to go down and employers were starting to say, okay, let's kind of work from home. Let's get ahead. Things were slowing down. I called her and I said, can you get me in for a chemical peel? Because I'm not going to be on stage. I'm not going to be on camera right now. And she was like, yeah, absolutely. So I go in for the chemical peel, perfect timing. Within 1 week, she had to shut down. So
you timed it perfectly.
Oh my God. Because I told my sister-in-law, I said, you got to go get a peel or some laser crap now that you're at home. But she missed it. So now things have opened back up. So you can do that now, which is great.
But even to your statement, that's something that we hear a lot because in the past, a lot of businesses or people in sales and other things were flying to different sites. We're going to offices because so many offices now limit how many people come in terms of reps and other things. We still have a lot of people. They're like, I can make a phone call. Nobody sees me. So if I have bruising, if I have swelling, I'm okay. And the businesses are fine with it because they just don't want unnecessary traffic already coming through the business that you don't need because they're already trying to space people out enough.
Right. No, absolutely. So have you had an increase in people coming to you saying, it's time to get something done because I'm on these Zoom calls and I'm now staring at myself on the computer and I never noticed that this was happening to me. Are you getting a lot of that?
We are. I would say that from an injectable standpoint, it has changed a lot because now, like the little wrinkles, the little 11s, if you feel like you've lost a little volume, if you got a little jowling, a little something, that's something. And also that's something where people love, is there something quickly that I can do that's going to make me look good in a week? Just because these little things, they stare out over and over. And that's the exact statement we get is, hey, I stare at myself every day for 7 hours on Zoom. Like this line bothers me. And they'll point to the exact line that drove them into the office. And so it's pretty interesting because we look at ourselves at a whole different way. It's interesting in general how this stuff has evolved because for like our practice now, we actually do all of our initial consults, or maybe 90% of our initial consults, all virtually. And so many people have changed their business model to be able to accommodate people and make people feel safe and comfortable in terms of doing that. And then on the flip side, that means that only post-ops or pre-ops are coming through the office. So when you come in, we basically do like any restaurant you've picked up food from. You do a curbside check-in, say I'm here. You get swept right into a room. There's no standing room, only waiting room. Go right into a room, you walk out, and we try really hard to make sure nobody even crosses paths. So you don't see anybody else but our staff.
Wow, that's great. And so are you able to analyze somebody from a virtual, like analyze their skin and suggest what they need from a virtual standpoint?
We are, and from a skin standpoint, even from a surgery standpoint, people are really good about taking pictures. We have an electric EMR where they can upload their own pictures. Even during surgery, we can share the videos and pictures with them. People can do videos. They can message us on us. I think people have loved it. Also with, you know, kids staying home, kids having to, do some homeschooling. It's easier for you to take 20 minutes to talk to me on a virtual like this, but depending
Yeah.
where you live, and here in Texas, it's a huge state where it may be an all day affair for somebody to drive 3 or 4 hours, come see us for an hour, and then drive back or whatever. And so, for them to be like, I can jump on a call for 30 minutes on a video chat, or I can spend
Yeah.
6 hours. I mean, I picked the first one.
Right, exactly. Well, I gotta ask now that we're on virtual. I mean, I feel like I'm lit so weird, but like, what should I do?
No, you look fabulous.
Oh, well, thank you. I feel like
For those of you just listening, she looks incredible.
I feel like I'm getting so full down here, and I'm like, how do you? But
What?
the most important key is everybody just needs to accept themselves, and everybody's beautiful, and the inside counts more. But if your insides aren't great, then we should go see you.
Then
No,
we got to do a little something on the outside to kind of blur those lines a little bit. It's funny because the jaw and cheek, kind of that lower face, has been such a, you mentioned earlier, like kind of what's popular, what's happening right now, and the whole jawline has taken off, and so that has just been crazy because you can give the illusion of a slimmer face, and it's one of these plastic surgery, magic tricks where we add volume and it actually makes your face look slimmer, because when you give these right angles, it's like your face comes to a point and your neck looks better because you got a right angled neck instead of just kind of the little slope. So adding volume actually makes your neck look better. And so that's one that's been super, super popular with all
so
the Zoom video chats.
people feel that they are heavy in the lower face.
They feel like they're heavy. They feel like their neck stands out. To your point, if the camera's like, a little down and your face is down a little bit, you feel like there's no kind of start and stop to your face. And we look slimmer if there's a right angle, because the way our eyes see the light, it basically right angles and it makes our neck look better, gets camouflages the little jowls, so that's a really cool trick. Doing some of the cheekbones to kind of lift us, get us in a spot. So you got a little bit of that V angle. So those are the things that have just been super popular because of all these video chats, little cheater tricks that make us look like we lost 10 or 15 pounds instead of gained 10 or 15 pounds.
When you talk about a slimmer jawline, because for me, I'm not in this business, but I would think like, oh, okay, what if I got like, skin tightening, like to kind of pull things up? But people are like, no, not really. And I know half my listeners are like telling me to fuck off right now. No, but I'm just saying, like, because for me, I was like, okay, maybe I should just lose the quarantine 5 that I put on, and that should take care of it. But I've always had a fuller face just because that's just my face.
Yeah, and there's a lot of people that have either a rounder face or a little bit fuller face, and to your point, it's just trying to enhance the features you have. If you have a little bit rounder features, it is what it is, but there's ways to just make you look the best version of you. And if we were all exactly the same, that'd be boring. There wouldn't be any fun in that. And
That is true, but if you go on Instagram, everybody's starting to look very similar, and it's starting to like freak me out. You're like, what? Everybody doesn't have this perfect angled jaw.
No, but I do think, and we had talked a little bit about it before. I do think some skin tightening stuff, even the more extreme stuff like the neck lipo, the neck tightening procedures have become much, much more popular because, for us, breast dog body stuff, easy to hide in a t-shirt, those type of things. But for a lot of people, while the downtime for, maybe an eyelid surgery or for a neck lift, those type of things, or some skin tightening where you're red, you're bruised, and people just don't want to talk about it. It's hard in the past because you're walking through the office with this bruise in on your face. And now it's easy to either not turn on your video or just, doing other things where you're not in front of a big group. And so that's definitely been a good window of opportunity for people.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's talk about some of those non-invasive procedures. You talked about the fillers, which I think everybody's familiar with. That can kind of, add volume back to your face.
Mhm.
Also, apparently, create a more angular, feminine jawline. I guess is what the hell they're calling it.
I
Um,
meant to, we get a little chin to give us a little, not Jay Leno chin, but a little something, something.
so you actually like put filler like in the face, and it makes it seem slimmer. That seems like so counterintuitive.
It does, because it gives that shape to the neck, so the neck looks better. And once the neck kind of looks like it
I
has a
have shape to
jawline,
my neck.
you got a good jawline. You're Instagram ready.
I'm Instagram ready. Yay! Even with my shitty lighting. But I want to talk about my favorite thing. My favorite thing, and I feel it can really prevent people from getting more invasive things done, is lasers. I love lasers. So I want to go through some of the lasers and what they're good for. A common laser that a lot of people like to start with is the clear and brilliant. Can you talk about that one? Because it's very non-invasive.
Yeah, and if you don't mind, I'll back up just a
Oh, sure.
little bit, because I think you're right on the point about what can you do at the beginning, and then we'll get back to the laser stuff, because I think one, taking care of your skin, the younger you are, the better you're going to be. So, we didn't know this growing up, but sunscreen, a good cleanser, those things are pennies on the dollar as investments for the future. So if you can get on nothing but a cleanser and moisturizer and a sunscreen to start off when you're super young, you're going to do your skin wonders going forward. And the idea of like the old days of where we used to get a good suntan at the beginning of the summer, thought that we were covered for the rest of the year, that's gone by the wayside, because the damage we build as a small child actually catches up with us much later in life. And then you have to come to the lasers, you got to come to the peels, you got to come to the other things to get those sunspots, other things out. And so, if you have one take home message, from this cast is, start when you're young, start your kids. Like my brother gets so mad at me because they're not as crazy about the sunscreen, but I'll chase his kids around with sunscreen and they're not used to putting it on. So when they come to my place in the pool, like I'm chasing them out and they got it lathered up everywhere. Every time I'm re-sunscreening them. But I'm like, you may be 9 now, but when you're 30, you're going to be thanking me for bathing you guys in sunscreen. So 3 super easy, inexpensive stuff that you can do that is going to do wonders going forward. If that ship has sailed, then there's definitely other things we can do in terms of lasers. Maybe let me break it up into a couple big categories to make it easy for people, because there's thousands of lasers out there and there's all sorts of brands and other things, and I think it sometimes becomes endlessly confusing. So there's a couple big categories. So one is the laser resurfacing. So resurfacing would be your stuff like the CO2 laser is one of the most common ones, and then there's a bunch of other brands in terms of some of that. And so the resurfacing tends to be for people that are they have blemishes, whether it's acne scars, whether it's other things that they want to smooth out the skin. And so and this is where you can talk to your provider in terms of which laser, and there's different powers, different things you can do. Also depends on the color of your skin a little bit, how aggressive you can be, and then in terms of sun. And that's another reason, with more downtime, some of them have gotten popular in the past. Some of these more aggressive lasers were only popular in the winter because people weren't out getting sun, weren't out at the beaches and those types of things. So, I think one is knowing the skin resurfacing lasers, and there's a huge category, but like CO2 lasers are one of the big ones in that category. The halo's another one that's become super popular in terms of some of those things, but that's to smooth out the skin. And so that's one big category, especially if you got some subtle stuff, because I tell people, even as a surgeon, those lasers go hand in hand with surgery, because like if we were to do a facelift, but you had a lot of fine lines and wrinkles, either from smoking, from using straws, from other things like that in the past, I can't pull you so tight that your skin is perfectly smooth. Nobody's in their convertible going 100 miles an hour and go, damn, this looks good, I should get a facelift. And so, those days of this windblown overly tight have gone by the wayside. So that's where the combination of
Thank
getting
you.
rid of some extra skin, adding a little volume, and then doing the laser resurfacing to smooth stuff out. So, that's our skin resurfacing. Then there's the other category of treating spots, colors, other stuff. And this is your IPLs, your broadband lights, those type of things where you can go after pigments in the skin. And obviously I'm just throwing out a few names, and this is where your provider will help you go through, but kind of knowing like, is it a skin resurfacing? Is it a pigment issue? And then we'll get into the skin tightening, which is probably the most exciting because there's been a few new devices in the last few years that have gone even better in terms of this and some combination of the categories. But in terms of the pigmentation, this is one where you got to be a little bit careful. And my mom is the worst poster child for this because she has a son that she can do this stuff and she takes advantage of it because you can't get lasers like IPL, BBL stuff to help with pigmentation of the skin and then go spend 12 hours in the sun because those pigmentations and stuff are going to come right back. And she's like, I'll just go get lasered again. Don't do that. But so this is where I think, you really have to like you have someone that you trust that's going to help go through there, but so treating the pigmentation. Okay. And then there's the combination of, then there's the skin tightening. And in the old days, like it was Thermage, Ulthera, and now there's some more aggressive ones called Renuvion, J Plasma, and Body Type. But typically these are like a radio frequency energy, but something that's causing some type of energy deeper underneath the skin to do a little bit of that skin tightening. And in the past, the big issue was that, if you're thinking about, if you're putting the probe over the top of your skin, we don't want to burn the skin. So there's a limit to the heat and those type of things so that you can get some tightening without causing any damage to the skin. Some of the newer devices like the Renuvion and the Body Tight, which has a face tight applicator, actually goes underneath the skin and thus they can get a little bit higher energy and you get a little bit more of an effect. Obviously, if you're going under the skin, it's a little bit more downtime. And I typically tell people a good rule of thumb is, the more effect you get, typically the more downtime that you're going to need. And I think that's true for superficial skin resurfacing and for for any of these other lasers. Now, some of these companies have gotten smart and they're like, well, what if we combine a couple of these best worlds? And so this is where you have some of the microneedling and radio frequency, combinations where you can do a very superficial skin resurfacing. So there's not a ton of downtime, but you also add some of that same radio frequency energy, sort of like an Ulthera, which is one of the more original ones. Now there's Secret and a bunch of other name brands out there to help do a little bit of skin resurfacing so that you can smooth stuff out, but also try and give you a little bit of skin tightening at the same time. So
Wow.
I hope that's a little helpful to at least put in big categories so people kind of can figure out a direction of where to go in terms of that. And this is where I think somebody to help guide you can help a little bit, because the question number one is what's the issue? Is this a volume issue like you alluded to at the very beginning in terms of we need to fill this? Is this a skin laxity issue? You also want somebody who's going to tell you like, hey, you need a facelift. You can put 15 syringes of filler and look overly full, but you're still not going to look great. You also want somebody to tell you if you come in and say you need a facelift to be like, hey, you do a little Botox and that's it. You don't need a facelift. Come back in 10 years. So finding someone that you trust that's going to help guide you to, to what your real goals are and being upfront about what's realistic about doing that.
Which is so great. But so what is a good laser? Because right now my main concern is just kind of maintaining, and preventing any more kind of aging signs coming through. So what would be the best? Would that be like a microneedling would be the best option?
That's always a hard one of like, what's the best, and even in our office, whenever we're trying to decide, because there's so many different needs. And I think it really depends a little bit on your specific age. Microneedling, I love because the downtime is really low. It's safe in all types of different skin types, which is great. And then, you can now combine it with some of these other radio frequency energies to give you a little bit more skin tightening. But that's great for like just smoothing out the skin a little bit. But typically the skin pen, microneedling, those type of things are not going to be great for pigmentation issues. And that's where you'd have to come to some of the light band, type type lasers to go over some of those. And then if people have, and this is where it's kind of depending on how aggressive or not. Maybe someone like you doesn't have a lot of downtime because they're always, moving and shaking. You say, hey, look, I know that I'm going to need 8 or 9 treatments, but I can only do a couple days of downtime, so I'll do the microneedling. If someone's like, hey, I'm gonna have, I'm taking a 2-month hiatus, let's just do the CO2 laser, let's get this all freshened up, and then I'm going to come back with a fury in the spring. That's an option too, but kind of deciding where you are in your life and downtime and those type of
So let's talk about the CO2 laser, because I don't know much about it, and I've
things.
heard about it. I've heard it's extremely expensive. Um, but it is like the mega daddy of skin resurfacing. But is it good for like pumping up new collagen to make you look even younger and like just giving you that?
I wouldn't say that the CO2 laser is for everybody or like an everyday use. This is more for typically treating like discrete, really, some superficial contour to skin blemishes, either acne scarring, some deep wrinkles in terms of like from smoking, from using straws, from those things, so around the mouth, around different parts, because downtime can be real, and depending on your skin and so forth, people can be red for several weeks after the procedure. So that's definitely not something that I would say is just a maintenance type treatment. And so I think some of the microneedling and some of these things are great, but I also wanted to make sure that people understand that there's all sorts of lasers out there, and and even some of the companies use the word laser a little a little loosely, just because people think lasers are cool. And there's new ones on the market all the time, but I would be a little careful because you really want to address a specific issue in terms of doing some of these things. I think if in terms of really staying young and in a good spot, if you can really get in and do even just some cleansing, so whether it's a hydrofacial, whether it's some type of good facial to make sure that you're getting those pores clean, that you're staying into a good spot, avoiding the acne, avoiding those type of things, I think that's great. And then circling back again to a good moisturizer, a good cleanser, the sunscreen stuff, because do those things so you can avoid the big purchases as much as possible.
So what can one do to help produce more collagen? Because as we get older, we don't produce as much, which causes the dullness in the skin and the lack of firmness.
Yeah, I think, and that's where I think the microneedling is a good one, because the downtime is low, and it does stimulate some superficial collagen to come in. So I think that's a great one. I do think that there's some products like Sculptra and some other stuff that you can inject that actually help stimulate some collagen that you can spread throughout the face. And it's funny because that's an older product that has kind of made a comeback, and I think because of this idea of stimulating collagen and a little bit more natural look with still being able to give some of that firmness and tightness to some of these things. So I think those are two big ones, because the downtime's low, the risks are low, but people tend to see nice results from them. And
So,
and they priced pretty reasonably.
oh, is it okay? So the Sculptra, I've heard about this. It's almost it's an injectable, like a filler, correct?
It's an injectable, sort of like a filler, like you would get a Juvederm or Rest or anything like that. But it's actually kind of cool because the product itself, you'll inject somebody, they'll look full, they'll look great, and then honestly, in about 2 weeks, it's all gone, and they look like they did before you ever injected anything. But the material is actually made to stimulate your own collagen, and so that's why it's really cool. And it's nice because people who have some generalized hollowness, because you can mix it up and it's a very fluid nature, you can inject it very smoothly throughout the face or the different areas you're trying to address. So kind of interesting, because it actually lets the body do all the hard work, and thus gives you a nice even smooth appearance.
So if somebody was trying to, work on like smile lines, right, or the lower lines here, wouldn't it be better to do something like a Sculptra versus a Juvederm, because it's your own body creating the color
Yes
versus?
and no. I mean, number one, we all like results today, and so the Juverdom and other stuff is nice because you get it, you're done, and it's filled. Two, like stuff like the Juvederm is a little bit thicker, a little bit stronger. So if you're going after discrete lines, that tends to be a little bit better. I personally like the Sculpture when you're trying to add generalized volume. volume to people because you distribute it a little bit better and smoother. When I'm going after very specific stuff, then I like the Juvederm, the Voluma, radius, depending on the specific area of the face. And it's funny because we get just like the laser question, we get the same thing for fillers. What's the best filler?
Yeah.
And it really depends on the area, because there's a different product I'll use under the eyes, different product for the jawline, different product for the lips, and some of it is the discussion with us. What's the look you're going for? I mean, do you want some big old luscious lips? Do you want something where nobody's going to really notice, but you're going to be like, something's a little different about you? And that's one of the really cool things, is there's so many different products out there. After we chat for a little bit, I get a pretty good idea of what you're going for, and then can kind of help guide you to what's going to help reach those goals.
Right. That's true. I mean, there is so many different options. And the thing that I've also been hearing about, you mentioned the lips, you mentioned the eyes, but from, Instagram, obviously we're all on it, and we kind of follow some of these doctors and see some of these
Hmm.
things they're doing. The temples,
Oh yeah.
temples are important now. What is going on?
I I actually love doing a little temple filler, because the nice thing about that is, not for me, because I've definitely been a victim of the COVID 15 pounds here, but
Hey, no
some of
worries. We all have.
but some of people who are just really really thin, it can tend to hollow them out, and sometimes you just look over hollowed, and so it just gives a little bit of the fullness up here, which again gives to the illusion of the lower part of the face being a little bit slimmer. So it's definitely been something that's been very 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 popular, especially recently. I feel like it's made a comeback.
Yeah, I mean, is it something like when we age, our temples start to kind of hollow out a little bit?
No question, no question, they do. And then if you've lost weight or you're thinner, then you see it too. And then again, I think it goes to some of the Zoom and other stuff. Some of our professionals are a little bit older, and I think they may not have noticed it before. And now that they're on video looking at themselves all the time, they're like, hey, it's just a little tweak.
Right. No, that's exactly right. And the under eye filler, a lot of people are familiar with. It's for the hollows, where to make you look less tired.
Hmm.
Um, does it help with like fine lines under the eyes as well?
I actually like a little Botox under the eyes if people have some fine lines, because you can get some of the fine line wrinkling when people are smiling, squinting, and that'll smooth that out. So kind of a combination depending where the lines are, but no question, the under eye ones is a big one, because that's a nice one where you can do a little bit of product and make a big difference. And the nice thing is, a lot of times people won't even know that you got filler. They'll just be like, are you rested? Have you been working out? And they can't tell what's different about you. It's funny. I gave a talk once about facial rejuvenation, this stuff, and eyes was part of it. And I showed a before and after of eyes, and without saying that it was eyes, and asked people what they thought, and they're like, the person on the right just looks younger, and they didn't even know that there was actually just a 3-month post-op from taking their fat pads out, because it's such a subtle difference, but they look more well rested and so forth.
So I've heard about this fat pad thing, and people taking them
Mhm.
out, and
Yeah.
they go in. Um, because it's like there's a difference between the hollowness and the bulginess. So the hollowness, it feels like if you took something out, they would be even more hollow.
The problem becomes this, is that you have a little wall that holds those fat pads in, and as we age, that wall kind of relaxes a little bit. So what you end up seeing is, you see right underneath the eyelid, you see this bulge as that fat pad is trying to herniate out, so the wall just doesn't hold it back, so you see those bulges, and then you see the caved in, which is the valley. So that peak and valley is what people see in terms of the hollow. So you're filling that valley to make it give the illusion of it being smoother. When you take out the fat pads, you've actually made it smoother. And the thing that makes it worse is that peak and valley causes shadowing. So then people see the dark circles under the eyes, which makes them look even more tired than just the bag. So it's trying to get rid of those peaks and valleys so that shadowing goes away.
Okay, so when you take out the fat pads under the eyes,
Mhm.
is that a permanent thing, or is that something that has to be maintained?
No, this is a little bit different. So it doesn't really change with weight like other fat pads and or other parts of our body. So typically, once they're out, they're out. That's it. Which actually makes it a super popular surgery, especially for some of my. Sometimes it's just congenital, where people just have them at a young age, that they're more prominent. I think the youngest person I've ever done has been in their late 20s, and they're like, I was in law school, and when I was in law school, I was fine with people telling me I was tired, because I was, but she's like, I work for myself now. I work 30 hours a week. I don't want people telling me I'm tired.
Yeah, right, exactly. Because it's almost like it's a polite way of telling you you look like shit in a weird way, right? Is what they've always said. So does taking out those fat pads under the eyes make somebody look younger? Like, are they going to get as much fine lines and wrinkles under the eyes if they have those out? Or
It
does
won't
that?
really change the fine lines and wrinkles. So they can still get that. It definitely makes them look a little bit younger, but just makes them look more rejuvenated, makes them look less tired.
Okay.
And
So
it's funny
that's
because the eyes is one of the few that we do an equal amount of men as we do women.
Oh, I'm sure. Absolutely. And yeah, it's become so much more popular for men. But I think the biggest concern, because it's the first aging we see on our faces, is under the eyes.
Mhm.
I remember when got out of college, I started working in finance, and I remember it was the first thing I noticed, and I cried, and I was like, oh my God, I'm getting old. I've got all these lines under my eyes. And I went on a mission to figure out how the hell I was going to remove these. And what I learned was the under eye is the hardest part to treat. And the under eye lines are the most difficult to get rid of. And like, is there anything coming out that just really focuses on those fine lines under the eyes? Because I would say that's probably most people's main concern.
No, unfortunately, it's still a struggle. What tends to be a combination of the fillers, doing some of the skin resurfacing around the eyes. The problem becomes around our eyes. Got to be careful. It's not like other parts of the area where we can pull it tight or just take a bunch of skin because we got to be able to have that nice little sling underneath our eyes, and we don't want to pull that skin down. So, kind of seems like if you an eyelid lift, you could just take out plenty of skin and not worry about it. But the problem is over time that skin will actually pull down and they can make the eye look a little off and sometimes people can get dry eye syndromes and other stuff. So you got to be cautious around the eyes and make sure that you have somebody helping you that has a good understanding.
So what are some things people can do to help the fine lines and wrinkles under the eye?
I think definitely being on a good moisturizer around the eyes is good. A little touch of Botox goes a ton underneath the eyes of just smoothing some of that because you got to remember that muscle that goes around your eye goes all the way around like a big circle. So when you smile or squint, it constricts down, and that's how you make your eyes a little bit smaller or bigger. And so that's why you see some of that fine line and wrinkling. So you can do a little bit of that to smooth it out. It makes a really, really nice difference. And you can do that right underneath the lashes for some of those little lines all the way underneath the bottom of the eye. So kind of a cool little nugget.
Yeah, that is cool. I have heard from some people though that they're like, oh, you don't ever inject Botox under the eyes, and it was like, and then other people that were like, no, no, no. But I guess you have to be careful because if you put too much in, your eyes won't close, right?
Yeah, I mean, you'd have to do a lot. I think it's just
Yeah.
become as we've gotten more comfortable with different products. I think the areas have expanded where we can use. But you're right. I mean, it's one of these things where 5 units or something tiny goes a long ways. You also have to be careful because some of it's not a bad thing where in terms of you're going to affect your vision or anything like that. But if you do too much around the eyes, sometimes all the muscles work together. Sometimes you can actually change your smile a little bit. So being careful that you don't do that because the muscles that attach to the corner of your mouth actually come all the way up to just to the side of your eye.
Yeah, I know it's so interesting. There's just so much stuff. I can't. I'm just thinking of the women in the 1910s who didn't have any of this, and they were like, "Wow, what do we do?"
But they also didn't have to do Zoom every day.
This is true. They also didn't have to work, which I love working. Thank God that is. Thank God that has changed. So you also do invasive procedures. Can you let it talk about some of those, and then we'll get into some details?
Yeah, some of the most common stuff I do, breasts are obviously still super popular. Breast dogs, breast lifts. I do a lot of fat transfer. That's become super super popular. So the whole Brazilian butt lift and body contouring, which has not gone away, and it's so funny because just fat shifting from one place to the other and putting it to good use. And I feel like we used to think that it was just our Instagram models and the Kardashians and so forth that had these figures, and you'd be surprised how many working people just want to look better in the clothes they are, and they just want a little bit of a shape. And so I tell people it's changed from the old days of just cutting out skin, pulling stuff tight, to doing this whole three-dimensional body shaping. So now with fat, we can make the tummy tighter. We can enhance their butt, their hips. We can get stuff down and really kind of address people all the way around.
And that, I mean, it's just so crazy. I would think with a fat transfer though, because it is fat, as soon as you maybe go on a healthier lifestyle, you're working out more, that it would go away because you lose fat. One
No,
time,
no question. I tell people it's still your fat. So if you gain weight, those areas are going to get bigger. If you lose weight, then they'll get smaller. The idea is that we're resetting your proportion. So if we can get your waist down, and get those hips, butt set, that proportion is going to change with you. Because if you lose weight, your butt may get smaller, but so would your waist, because there's always the internal fat and other stuff that we can't get rid of with lipo. And I tell people, look, it's a team effort. So the healthy lifestyle, the diet, the exercise is only going to make your results that much better. So we got to work together.
oh, 100%, absolutely. So I have to ask you, in your opinion, do you think Kim Kardashian's butt is real or fake?
I honestly think that she had a phenomenal butt to start with, because you don't get a butt like that with all plastic surgery. It's really hard. I'd be surprised if she didn't have some help.
Yeah, right, exactly. So that brings me to one of my next celebrities that I just love, but I look at her Instagram and I look at her on TV and I'm like, what is she doing? Sofia Vergara. She's obviously got that Latin gene, so she's very blessed that way. But there's got to be something going on. What's her secret? Because I don't have her phone
Ooh, I don't know. I mean, I wish I had her phone number, but
number.
I don't know, and some people just have an incredible shape, but this is where
I'm talking her face at this point.
yeah, I mean,
I mean, it's like she looks so young.
she looks so young. I definitely think that she's someone who's done a good job of taking care of some of this stuff in terms of skincare, other stuff. I saw something on when she was doing an interview, because she's always been in some medical field, I think, and I don't want to misquote this, but she was actually a dental student at one point or something.
I did hear that. I remember hearing that.
And so, dentists have used Botox before as well. So I'm pretty sure that that's somewhere in the beauty regimen for her.
Right. No, exactly. Have you ever had to tell people no? I'm not.
Oh yeah, all the time.
Okay.
All the time.
And is it typically because they're doing it for the wrong reasons?
That's a couple. So that's a big one, and a lot of times that tends to come out a little subtly. And because most of the time people aren't going to say, "Hey, I'm doing this because my husband or wife is trying to leave me," and for a younger woman or man or whatever. And so some of that just comes. We try to see everybody at least twice before surgery, because the more comfortable they come with you, the more stuff comes out. This is where some of my team, my staff really help too, because they make a connection. And when this stuff comes out, it's kind of like, hey, just so we're clear, that this maybe isn't the best time for it. So that's a big one, doing it for the wrong reason. I think also too, I have typically try and have people bring in wish pictures. And sometimes I think we just have an idea of something that's not doable. And I'll try and be point blank with people, like, I can't do that. And that way I tell people, I'd rather you be disappointed right now sitting in the office rather than disappointed 2 months from now, $15,000 later, and being like, this isn't what I thought I was going to get.
Right. So when you say like wish picture, is that like another celebrity, or is it a picture of them at a younger age?
It could be all of the above. I would say the most common is kind of their social media crush. So someone on either Instagram or something else that they found that they really like their shape or figure. Sometimes it's stuff off of our website stuff, but we all have different body frames and different structures, and so making sure that what they're thinking, or sometimes it's like, hey, if this is really your goal, the plan we had talked about is not going to get us there. We need to audible and switch stuff up to get you into a better spot.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Because and especially with like social media, with Instagram and YouTube, even how people are able to really kind of make a living off these, which is so amazing. But it's also got a lot of negative effects, which is people comparing, and then people are filtering, and then it's like, what do these people even look like anymore? And you probably maybe you've gotten some younger people that come in and they're just like, I just don't look like this.
100%. And the other thing that's really hard about social media and some of these things is, and a friend of mine, Dr. Nykiel in Southern California, does this whole, fake or real, because a lot of people, I think, don't realize how many of these pictures are either airbrushed, photo touched up, and we compare ourselves to pictures that aren't even real, and we set these expectations for ourselves on something that's not even, you know, the real person. And so it's I think that makes it really, really hard for people, and can sometimes be tough on themselves for something that the person they're comparing to, that's not even the real them.
Exactly. And there's all these like apps that help you kind of airbrush and fix things and shrink things.
And
And
tweak and shrink and extend and
I've seen those. I'll take a picture 100 times before I touch something and alter my face. But I've had people that will do the airbrush app, and I've had pictures with them where they start airbrushing me, and I'm going, no, no, and I don't need you to, like, I don't want you to do that, because I don't want to put out this falsified image, and then people see you in real life and they're like, you look much better online. I'd rather people be like, you look much better in person.
oh yeah, for sure. And it's funny because that's where I think social media, like for us from a surgery standpoint, has been interesting, because it's kind of taken away this magical black box of surgery, where people come in, they come out, and nobody knows what happens in between. And so we've been able to take people along the journey. They see me, they see, the steps, and we talk about, like, hey, this is why we can't do this. This is why we do this. Hey, here's the limit of what we can do. We'll have to come back another day and get rid of this skin because we've hit the limit that we can lipo on one day. And so I think people appreciate it in the long run of getting a better idea of what they can or can't do.
Right. No, that's 100%. And your business probably is also going to be booming. On a sad note, and it could be good and a good note too, is the divorce rates are through the roof right now, through the roof. So I'm sure you're going to be getting a lot of people coming in that are getting back on the dating market.
I've heard here in Austin, now that we kind of opened back up, some of our nurses and other stuff have said it's been a busy scene in Bumble and Tinder and all of the above.
Just meaning like there's plenty of inventory going around.
Just doing a lot of virtual dates in one night,
I didn't think about that. Yeah, you can do virtual dates,
Mm-hmm.
which is great for the guys. They're saving so much money.
Oh yeah, I mean,
It's like the best. So I want to talk about, before we wrap up, some of the best skincare products. Obviously sunscreen is obvious, but some of the best products that you really recommend that make a difference. Because if you go into even a drugstore, if you go into a Sephora or a Blue Mercury, you are overwhelmed with stuff. And then there's really expensive stuff and there's cheaper stuff. What are products that you've seen that actually do what they say they're supposed to do?
That's a really hard one, to be honest with you, because what's good for your skin may not be good for my skin, and for what's going to take care of you. And again, just to use my mom as an example, I get mad at her all the time because she'll go to Nordstrom's, Macy's, and just, I don't know, it feels like the obligation to buy some new skincare line thing, and people will, you're better off spending a little bit extra money going with either a dermatologist, a plastic surgeon, a medical esthetician that you trust, that's actually going to look at your skin, that's going to go through it. Because if your skin's oily, if you're really dry, if you got, spots, there's different regimens that you can be on that actually work for your specific needs, rather than just buying a ton of like stuff because it was on sale and doesn't make any difference. And once you start adding up all the junk that you bought that wasn't like aimed at any purpose, then you're gonna, you realize, oh, I'm actually doing okay in terms of the same amount of money spent. And it's worth spending some money and time actually getting a consultation with either a dermatologist, a medical esthetician, a plastic surgeon, going over this, because there's no like product stuff that's one for all. I mean, there's the triple lipid that I love. There's a couple different SkinCeuticals brands that's super reasonably priced and works and has good stuff. So I mean, there's definitely some very, very, very good products out there. And it's funny because even between these different lines, they have different products that are better or not from other. Skin Revision has a great eye cream, that's great.
Skin Revision, that's the brand?
That's the brand. And they have some eye creams that are, they're actually great, that have gotten my mom started on too. And so, but again, trying to make sure that it's targeted to something.
So they have multiple eye cream skin revisions? Because I think everyone's always searching for that great eye cream, and they're very difficult to find.
Yeah, no, Skin Revision's a brand that I would look up, and they do.
And they have a couple different ones to choose from.
Yeah, there's one, and I'm blanking on the name exactly, but there's a one specific for the eyes that's phenomenal. My mom does that one.
And is it like moisturizing? It stays
Hmm.
moisturized.
Hmm.
Okay, perfect. No, that's good to know. Yeah, and I've heard SkinCeuticals. That's a brand that people
It,
really.
it's a good one. It's reasonably priced. It's good products. Skin Better is another great one that's again reasonably priced, but has good quality products. So I love some of these brands that they're not like outrageously expensive, but you get a good product, and you're not spending $500 for an 8-ounce bottle or something.
Right, exactly. And so is the typical like night and daytime routine obviously cleanser, toner, serum, moisturizer, eye cream.
Mhm. Yeah.
That's kind of. So what do you think about these like the microneedle rollers, the at-home rollers that people will do before they put their product on? Are those good to make your products penetrate deeper?
I think they're helpful. I don't think that they replace, doing the actual stuff in the office once a month where you get some of the deeper cleanse, because the at-home stuff, there's
A
limits.
month, you're saying?
Huh?
Once a month? I better get real rich.
But because there's a limit to what you can do in terms of the office, in terms of, I mean, at home, in terms of the thickness of some of these kind of dermal rollers and so forth to help kind of, you know, clean off some of the skin. But I think anything that kind of helps the skin turnover, get rid of some of the dead cells superficially, obviously making sure that every night you're getting off all these, whatever makeup, other stuff that you're going to bed
Yeah.
with, I think is priceless, because then you're really going to have pore issues and other stuff.
So how often should one exfoliate? Like at home?
Um, that's that one varies from person to person too, because not everybody tolerates some of the exfoliation as well as others, depending on
Okay.
your skin, and I mean, my mom's in one of those. She just does not tolerate it, and she had to space them out, and then even the different strength of the product. So, I wouldn't give a recommendation in terms of how
That
often.
okay. Hey, fair enough. And then the big product now is Retin-A. Well,
Hmm.
it's always been a big product, but it's talked about more, and you see more Retin-A creams and like over the counter, where before Retin-A was from a pharmacy. But I think that the one, if you could get it at a pharmacy, the Trentona, it's the brand,
Uh-huh.
whatever it's called. What's it?
Yeah,
Trent,
tretinoin.
Trentona. There we go. That's probably the better one, right?
It's a good one, but again, that's one. There's different strengths of it, and you got to be careful because not everybody tolerates it as well. And so some people can do it, once a day. Some people, again, depending on the strength, the stuff over the counter is going to be much more diluted than something you would get in a medical office and so forth. And so depending on how often, because some people can tolerate it, some people have to do every other day, some people, and then got to be really careful if you're using these products. If you're getting a laser treatment, if you're doing something else, make sure you talk to whoever's doing your provider, because sometimes they'll want you to stop it before, sometimes they won't want you to use it for a period of time afterwards, and they'll switch it to maybe an aquaphor or something else after a treatment. So
Yeah.
just be super upfront if you're using any of these products with whoever's doing your treatments.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, because that's one you always hear, and then you hear vitamin C in the day
Hmm.
is good too.
Yeah.
Um, and then before we go, I want to ask you, what are some supplements that you would recommend people take to kind of keep that youthfulness?
you know I, I'll tell you, supplements is a hard one, even in our, because we get this question all the time for our surgeries, and
Okay.
uh, I just always tell people to be a little careful with supplements. I'm probably on the minority of this, but I think sometimes people get carried away in terms of supplements and different things. If you truly have a deficiency of something, there's people who've had gastric bypass, other sleeves, things that have had digestive issues that truly benefit from some of these supplements. I think a daily vitamin is super helpful. I think, depending on what your diet is, making sure you're getting an equal amount of protein and those type of stuff. Got to be careful a little bit, in terms of different supplements, because I think sometimes people have these ideas that if they're all natural or herbal or so forth, that there's no side effects. And especially if you're taking, any other medications,
Okay.
got to be careful, because sometimes they make them metabolize a little bit faster, and the medication your doctor thinks that they're putting you on is going through your system faster or not fast enough, and those can be issues. So unfortunately, there's no great magic for everybody in terms of some of these. Yeah, I can't stress enough, that living a healthy lifestyle, like get some exercise, watch what you eat in moderation, um making sure that you're getting some rest, some sleep. I think right now with the pandemic and COVID and everything else, it's really messed up people's lifestyles in terms of exercise routine. If you're working from home, do your routine, get up, shower, get dressed, so that way you get into the mental state and you do some of the things you talked about in terms of, doing your cleanser, doing your stuff, so that you have a routine that you're maintaining. The things that really destroy your skin in terms of skin laxity, in terms of these things, is the yo-yo dieting. Going up and down just destroys you. I mean, that we see that all the time, because when we're 20, we can lose 20, 30 pounds, and our face bounces back. But unfortunately, as time marches on, our face, skin, and collagen, you know don't to the same degree. And so that's a big one. I would tell people that they can control, is really, really try to avoid the fad diets and the yo-yo dieting up and down, because your skin, not just in your face but other parts of your body, the older we get, will not bounce back the same way.
Yeah, that's true. So kind of pick the weight you want to be at and try to maintain it.
For sure, for
And
sure.
what about you're seeing a lot of collagen kind of powders, and like Vital Proteins is a big one. They have collagen and all their stuff. Um, how do you feel about those?
I mean, I think the one area that I would say that I've seen some of these proteins and supplements helpful is as people have tried to change diets, and I think that, like, especially here in Austin, we've seen a big movement in terms of people getting away from proteins and meats and other stuff and things like that, is making sure that if you are changing diets, that you're making sure that you're still getting all the vitamins, proteins, other stuff that you need. Because I think if it's not something you've done forever and you're making a change, you really got to find different ways to supplement all of these different nutritions that you may or may not be getting. And so while I think there's some benefits to these different alternative diets, it does take a little bit of legwork to make sure that when you're cutting stuff out, you're making up for it in other ways. And I think people sometimes forget that when they're first transitioning. And we see that sometimes when people come in for surgery, they've made these diet and lifestyle changes trying to prepare it, and didn't realize that, like, oh, I cut this out, but I didn't supplement the different things that I needed with something else.
Yeah, no, that makes pardon me, that makes complete sense. So before we wrap up, where can people find you and find information on you and
Yeah, a lot of people follow us on Instagram at Austin Plastic Surgeon. We also have a website, www.morebeautifulyou.com. And then we honestly, and we're not as famous as you are, but we started a
yeah, right.
podcast, so Plastic Surgery Untold. And so we have different plastic surgeons on, and we talk about different surgeries. We've had some anesthesiologists on to talk about the anesthesia and other stuff. So just all about plastic surgery.
Okay, well, that is great. Yeah, and all his links to his information will be on our website as well at Next to Madison, so you can check that out. Dr. Franco, I am so grateful that you came on to break everything down, because there's so much confusion in this medical spa world that we're in. Yeah.
Well, I appreciate you having me on. This was great.
Yeah, no, it was amazing. And you guys listening at home or in the car, at the gym, wherever you may be, thanks again for listening to another episode of Next to Madison, and we'll see you guys next time to find out who's next.
Hey, your host here, Madison Malloy. Please make sure to subscribe to the show on all podcast platforms, and please rate and review us on iTunes and Spotify. Also, if you have any questions or comments, you can email us at contact@nexttomadison.com. I thank you again for listening. Bye.